Hey everyone, welcome to Honeycomb Faith. Today I'm going to be telling you a miracle story. I plan on this being a series on the YouTube channel. We have had so many things in our family the past several years since 2019 happened, and I have had so many things happen my entire life of loss, health issues, and all sorts of things, and God has performed miracles where people said it couldn't be done, it wasn't possible, but they happened. And there's also been things that we prayed for and they didn't happen, especially in the last several years. But you know what? I'm going to focus on the things that God has done and remind me of all those miracles that He has performed. And I hope this can help encourage you as well. So my daddy has had health issues since he was really a child, but they got a lot worse as a teenager and a young adult. By the time I was born, he was like 34. So by the time I was 5, he was having a surgery. He'd had several surgeries before I was born and after I was born. I don't know what number surgery this was since me being born, but I know that he was going in for a surgery. My older sisters are both significantly older than me. My oldest sister is 12 years older than me, and my other older sister is 6.5 years older than me. I was about 5 or 6 at this time. We would go to a grandparent or a great-grandparent's house if it was something that had to be like overnight especially, and we would stay with them the night before the surgery and all that, and they would take care of us while my mom and daddy were at the hospital because daddy was having a surgery or procedure or whatever. So this particular time we went to my grandparents on my daddy's side, and we went there and we spent the night there. Well, I knew that it's a surgery. We always prayed for him before surgeries and everything, and they would tell us what time, and we would which I wasn't paying attention to a clock very much at 5 or 6 years old, but my sister had a phone, and so she would say, okay, well, he's about to have a surgery, so let's gather around and pray together. Or if we were with a grandparent or a great-grandparent, we would do the same thing. They'd say, okay, it's so-and-so time, it's about to be time for the surgery, let's pray. So we would do that. So we go the night before the surgery. He had to get there. It was already dark when they left and went to the hospital, and they weren't operating on him until the next morning. So we went that night to my grandparents' house because at this time, my oldest sister is able to drive and everything. So she drives me and my other sister to our grandparents' house. We went there. I remember having a good time with my grandparents and being excited, but I was also, of course, really concerned about my daddy. I knew he was at a hospital and it was risky. He'd also already had at least a surgery that I remembered, and procedures and stuff and checkups and all that he was okay afterwards, Of course, they were he had to recover, but he was fine. But I was still concerned, of course. Well, the next day, my mama was supposed to be picking him up because it was something that he would get his surgery and then he would be sent home within a couple hours after the surgery. Well, my mama calls my grandmother and she says, okay, I'm coming to pick them up. I'm on my way, where I'm about to leave the hospital to pick them up. Her and daddy, because daddy was supposed to be leaving as well. And within a few minutes, about 3 minutes goes by, and she calls my grandmother again and says, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to pick them up yet. She said that they were taking my daddy back to the operating table, and that's not good because he was about to leave. Well, this is what happened. So as my mama was down there getting the car pulled up to the front of the hospital for them to get him out, my aunt, which is my daddy's aunt, so she was my great aunt, she lives in another state. She happened to come down to our state to visit, which we didn't know she was coming down. Happened to come down, visit her mother, which is my great-grandmother, my daddy's grandmother. Happened to come visit her, and while she was visiting her, my great-grandmother was like, yeah, he's having surgery today. She's like, oh, what hospital and room number? And so she told her all that, and she went up there to visit him as a surprise. Well, my great-aunt used to be a nurse. So she goes in there to visit him, and he's bleeding, excessively. And he's out of it. He's medicated. He just had surgery. And she goes into the hall and says, y'all have to get back in here. And she was a nurse, so she knew what they did wrong. I don't remember what the technical terms and all that was, but she said you didn't something. There was something that they didn't do correctly or they didn't do at all. And so she said, you're going to do this. You're going to get my nephew back on the operating table or he's going to bleed to death and die. So you have to go in there and fix this. And she told him how to fix it. Well, they go over there. They wheel my daddy back to the operating table. And my mama is in the vehicle, ready to get him in the car because they told him to bring the car to the front so they could wheel him out in the wheelchair for him to go home. And a nurse comes out running and says, "I'm so sorry. Your husband's back on the operating table." So my mama goes over there and parks the car back, and she tells my grandmother, that she wasn't going to be able to pick us up, and she goes up there. And my daddy ended up being okay. Yes, he had health issues after that, but he made it. If she wouldn't have been there, he probably wouldn't be here because the amount of blood that he lost in that time was a lot. But just think about how good God is. My aunt just so happened to be visiting. She didn't even know he was having a surgery that day. Just so happened to be there. She just so happened to be a nurse back in the day. And she just so happened to be there at just the right time. And he just so happened to start having that issue before he left the hospital. What a miracle that is. And my aunt just so happened to be correct about it. That's a miracle, and I hope that I make many other miracle stories for y'all. And I know this one was a little bit quicker, and but I try to keep my videos under 10 minutes. I try to, so they will upload much easier. Jesus King, Jesus Lord. I love y'all. Bye.